Pittsburgh. Let's head on down. Welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Pittsburgh. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Paul Cheon, and we've got Ryan Hare versus Bronson. How did you say it?
Gervasi.
Gervasi.
I think you might have missed it, but they just gave each other a fist bump.
I did miss that.
Look at that sportsmanship.
That's good. I like that. There's a lot on the line here. Remember, $10,000 to first place at GPs now is a big game. Lots of pro points. They can breathe a sigh of relief about their Pro Tour invite, but their workday is not finished yet. So, who's it going to be here, Paul? Mardu Vehicles or Black Green, especially given the knowledge that you know that Ryan gets to be on the play as the third seed?
Yeah, it's the classic matchup. I think if we're talking about game one, I do feel like the Black Green deck is a pretty good size favorite. But again, after sideboard, we saw Bronson's sideboard plan of 6 Planeswalkers into Fumigates, and I think the matchup actually favors the Mardu deck after board. So it's actually incredibly close. I think a lot of people thought, all right, going into the tournament, I'm just going to play Black-Green. It's good against Mardu. But
turns out it's not amazing, is it?
It's all right against Mardu.
I still can't believe that like they actually can get better post-board. Because, I mean, if I just came up to you, format, irrespective of format, was like, Paul, I'm playing a Black-Green rock deck. Do I get better or worse against aggro post-board? You're just like, obviously you get way better, you know? You get all these other things, but the fact that the Mardu vehicles can kind of pivot into this more controlling build around those planeswalkers and sweepers is very legit.
And it's also kind of tricky how you're supposed to sideboard in the matchup, right? Because they have the ability to kind of turn into this control deck, but they also have the ability to come out kind of guns blazing with really, really fast starts. So you're just going to have these games where you're stuck with a bunch of cheap removal spells in your hand. Your opponent just plays Gideon and Chandra, right? There's not as many just universally good removal spells that just kind of kills anything.
Okay, 2 spells here for Ryan, but he's facing down a Thalia, and that means that both of those creatures are going to enter battlefield tapped. He still has Nissa Voice of Zendikar there with 4 loyalty on her, and a plant token, though.
I think I would be very tempted to just use the minus ability here. Bronson's tapped out. If he uses the minus ability on the Nissa, he can put 2 +1/+1 counters on all of his creatures.
How do you not take that? And on top of it, it forces Bronson to have a removal spell to kill Nissa, even in that scenario.
Exactly. The thing is, even if Bronson has something like an unlicensed disintegration, Ryan will still have 8 power on the board.
Love it.
Yeah. And also, Bronson currently doesn't have any black mana, so no access to unlicensed disintegration yet either.
Yeah, so Ryan Hare does use the minus ability, and he looks to be in a great spot here as Bronson really has to deal with a whole lot of things at once. And no matter what, Ryan's going to get to untap with some pretty impressive board state here. And Bronson's best play here is a veteran motorist.
Yeah, Bronson is in a lot of trouble. No 1-drop, being on the draw, and Ryan just curving out beautifully here. It's going to be really, really tough.
Yeah. How would you describe Ryan's list? We've seen Black-Green decks in multiple different flavors on the weekend. We've had energy. We've had some of them that were a little more constrictor-specific. But this one, how would you put it?
Well, it has neither the energy theme or the delirium theme.
Okay.
Instead, it's opting to just play 4 copies of Sylvan Advocate. So currently we're just calling it. Yeah, we're just calling the Black-Green deck.
Just Black-Green.
Yeah, just straight up Black-Green. Sylvan Advocate is nice because it does match up well against the Delirium version of the deck because it just trumps Grim Flare, right? In the early game, you can attack through a Grim Flare, and in the late game, it's also just bigger.
How annoying for Grim Flare, right? It's just like
2 mana,
there's
4/4,
always somebody better
enough
out there, you know?
Yeah. Also, it doesn't get shocked. Small relevant thing.
Yeah, Grim Flare, you have to learn to love yourself first. That's my advice for Grim Flare. Let's see what Ryan.
Yeah, Bronson is in a ton of trouble.
Oh, he's in a heap of trouble, no doubt about it.
Again, I would still just be tempted to just minus Nissa again, and
Heck
that's
yeah.
what Ryan's doing.
Crush him.
That is a gigantic plant.
It is like a 2-turn clock. Ryan's at 20. He can take hits. It's not like the Mardu Vehicles deck has the ability to do massive. Like, he knows about how much damage he can take.
Exactly, and this is game one. Bronson doesn't have access to those fumigates either.
Right.
So Ryan has 2 cards in hand, did have a Hissing Quagmire in play, and chose not to activate it. So likely going to be dropping another large creature on the board this turn. Oh, no. Actually, if he did, he probably should have played it first.
Yeah, that's what he would have done.
So I'm just kind of interested to see what he has. Maybe it's just a removal spell
Yeah.
to prevent any good blocks.
Fatal Push or something.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. He's going to triple block the Whiny Constrictor, and he does not look happy about it.
This can't possibly go poorly.
Yeah, nothing could go wrong here.
Yeah.
I mean, the bad part is that it worked, and it still went poorly.
Yeah.
Like, you just got 3 for 1.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal. Also, Bronson, by the way, down to 10.
Down to 10 life. I'm not sure what Ryan has in hand, but I feel like he...
Just some lands, I
I
think.
feel like he might have wanted to just activate the Quagmire there, get the extra value.
Just to get that extra +1/+1
Yeah,
counter on
it would have been a 4/4 Death Touch, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he was holding up anything.
Yeah.
But this is critical. 6th land means that the Advocate's big. That makes the Hissing Quagmire big, and this tack is way too much for what Bronson is going to be able to do. He's going to go down to 2
life?
here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess it would have been lethal. Or, well, Bronson would have had to chump with the Pia as well.
But the truth is there's just no way for Bronson to come back in game 1.
Yeah.
Mardu Vehicles is the deck that's designed to get out to a lead and protect it. It has some resiliency built in, but comeback potential is not there.
Yeah, the creatures in the black-green deck are just bigger, so it's just really hard. He's getting an energy here. He could have an unlicensed Disintegration maybe, but again, he's down to 2 life. He needs to be able to play multiple good spells this turn.
That's a pretty good one, but it just looks a little small.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to say.
Bronson did play an Ether Hub there, so he does have access to black mana, so he could have a Fatal Push.
Okay, that would make things interesting.
Yes.
That would make things interesting.
And it would be pretty insane if Bronson did somehow find a way to claw back into this game and Ryan not using the counters, but it looks like he's just dead.
With only 1 blocker, even if it is a big lifelinker, not going to get the job done. And Ryan Hare is 1 game away from taking down this GP. As far as energy or delirium goes, you know, he'll get some benefits here and there, but he just played the good cards that he wanted to. You mentioned the Sylvan Advocate being kind of the difference maker.
Yeah. The thing is, we've watched a lot of matches in this tournament, and we've had a lot of games where people are on the Delirium version, and the Grim player just takes a really long time to actually get Delirium. So if it's just too much work to do that, it might just be better just to play Sylvan Advocate because it just has better stats by itself. We also haven't seen a whole lot of Nissa Voice of Zendikar in a lot of these lists, and I just saw from that game it did a ton of work. All right. I'm kind of curious how Bronson's going to sideboard, especially being on the play this time around. Is he still going to be committed to the Fumigate Planeswalker strategy? Or is he going to try to basically just curve out instead and kind of not play all the expensive cards that he has in his sideboard? Meanwhile, Ryan Hare, 0 copies, 0 ways to deal with Planeswalkers in the main deck, and it looks like he only has 1 copy of Ruinous Path. So the Planeswalker strategy seems fantastic, and I do believe they have access to each other's deck lists. So Bronson, seeing that Ryan basically has very few outs, likely going to just go with the Planeswalker plan.
Well, he's going to have to piece together a bunch of Planeswalkers over the course of the next 2 games to see if he's going to take that trophy home.
Yeah. Also, taking a look at Ryan's sideboard, he doesn't have any good instant speed removal for the Sky Sovereign as well. So I feel like the Sky Sovereign will also do a lot of work if Bronson chooses to board that in. Ryan is working with 4 copies of Fatal Push, 3 Grasp of Darknesses. He's got 1 Appetite on the sideboard, and that is actually the only card that he has that can answer the Sky Sovereign.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Maria Bartholdi's down on the floor. in the feature match here, and she just told me that that Bronson during that first game said, "I don't understand why the other builds aren't playing Nissa to Ryan there." And we saw how powerful Whining Constrictor plus Nissa was that game.
Yeah.
And Bronson, I think he's just like maybe feels like he dodged some bullets because people weren't playing those two cards.
Yeah,
or at least the Nissa.
Nissa's a very powerful card. The problem is, well, in this game, Ryan was on the play and he got to curve out. But if you're on the draw and you have a Nissa and your opponent just plays a turn 2 Heart of Kirin, for example, it's a pretty embarrassing play on turn 3. So there will be games where it doesn't look quite as strong.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, Planeswalkers are great, but because of the existence of Heart of Kirin, I think Nissa stock kind of is a little lower. But I do like it for the mirror. Also, just having additional counter synergies. It just gives you just more options.
Another way to do that. Yeah.
Like you said, a turn 2 Winding Constrictor into turn 3 Rishkar is amazing. Turn 2 Winding Constrictor into turn 3 Nissa, also amazing.
Indeed.
You make a plant and then you minus on the following turn, and it's really, really hard to come back from that.
Yeah, I also like the fact that it works well with Whining Constrictor in that you can make counters on a turn without paying mana for that. Right? Like, it's so difficult because you always have to play Whining Constrictor and be like, go.
Yeah, it basically feels like a mini Verdur's Gearhulk, right?
Yeah.
You're just playing additional copies of that. Ryan already playing the full 4 copies of the Gearhulk in his deck. And Nissa acts as kind of like additional copies of that.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, so normally you go Whining Constrictor, go, and you kind of hold your breath. Because if you get to untap and play Rishkar, you're way ahead, right? And even in the middle part of the game, you play a Whining Constrictor, you can't play the Gearhulk the same turn in most scenarios. So you say go, and your opponent's like, untap my lands, do something, but leave some mana up, go. And then if you try to abuse the Constrictor, they like kill your Whining Constrictor. And here, you can be like, Nissa, make a plant, go. And then they're just like, crap. If he goes Whining Constrictor minus Nissa, it's like, all of a sudden you've got 6 or 8 power or whatever, and the thing gets out of hand where, Rishkar, you need 5 mana to do that. Here it's 2 mana plus a Nissa, and all of a sudden you've got a big board state. It's a something else. You just don't get that in any of the other cards that make +1/+1 counters.
I also think it's just really well positioned in the mirror match where everybody is looking to just, as far as the removal goes, everybody's looking to play basically 4 copies of Fatal Push and a ton of Grasp of Darknesses in preparation for the Mardu matchup. So no, you're just not. You don't see a lot of Ruinous Paths and Tuda Slaughters in the main deck anymore, and so Nissa just kind of sits there, allows you to build up a board, and then just minus and just pump your entire team.
I'm really curious to see how these next 2 games go with this game plan.
Yeah.
That is another one of the things you and I talked about coming into the match here, Paul, was that Mardu Vehicles is not your average everyday run-of-the-mill aggro deck. It hits from multiple different angles, and one of the big advantages it has is this post-board game plan of basically just switching up. It's just plain Planeswalkers, where in game 1, you'll see Gideon occasionally, but like they're not building around that. They're just trying to like do what Gideon does, get in for damage in many different ways.
Yeah, it is really difficult to sideboard against the Mardu deck. You need to make sure you have the right mix of removal so that they can't get an aggressive draw and get you. At the same time, you still need to be prepared for the Planeswalker strategy as well. I know that when I was playing the Jeskai Saheeli deck, for example, I was just boarding up to 4 copies of Negate because all the cards that I would lose to were basically the vehicles and the Planeswalkers.
All right, well, we've got 2 keeps here on 7 cards in game 2 of the finals here in Pittsburgh. Will it be Mardu Vehicles? Will it be black-green? Ryan Hare with his black-green deck is up a game, so he is certainly favored at this point, but these are post-board games, and things play out a little differently here. Here's a veteran motorist for Bronson who's going to go top.
Yeah.
Never lucky, Ryan Hare. He's like, okay, well.
And just by looking at kind of how the sideboard cards match up, I think Bronson, if I were to choose a side after sideboard, I would lean towards the Mardu Vehicles deck. Ryan has very few ways to deal with Planeswalkers, and also just only one out to basically a Sky Sovereign, which Bronson has in his hand.
Oh. And he's kind of marching his way up the mana here as well. Remember, that veteran motorist can make sure that he hits his land drops. Ether Sphere Harvester, and Bronson, as we've seen, is going to take the defensive route here rather than offering the trade.
It's very interesting.
You would have attacked there.
I think so.
Yeah, I would have too. I mean, I know what he's thinking, right? He's lining up for these bigger, powerful late game plays, so he doesn't want to start trading damage at this point. But the truth is that like this doesn't end well for you very often.
Yeah.
We're going to see a fatal push here, I would assume. And there it is.
Yeah, great sequence out of Ryan Hare. So had he just attacked, probably would have turned out a little better for him.
Yeah. But as it turns out, Ryan still just has the Winding Constrictor. And yes, he did 2 for 2 with Bronson. It wasn't a complete disaster by any stretch. And now he gets to play a Planeswalker. So, you can't fault him too heavily here for Bronson. But now he's in that precarious spot where, Gideon looks a little nervous there.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a Walking Ballista. And thanks to the snake, he can use it to kill the Knight ally, though he won't quite be able to kill Gideon, will he?
Yeah.
So close.
Very close, very close.
He will next turn if he wants, and depending on how Bronson approaches this turn.
Yeah, so this is going to be a really, really good turn. If Bronson has an untapped land here, because he does have the Sky Sovereign.
Could have boated him, yeah. Oh, man, that's savage. What is he going to settle for? A Pia Nalar.
Looks like a Pia Nalar, but no removals. So Ryan Hare can just choose to put 2 more counters onto the Walking Ballista if he so chooses, or if he draws something like, or if he plays something like a Verdur's Gearhulk.
Don't say that. Don't say Gearhulk.
He's got 4.
Don't even say that, Paul.
Is that a Flaying Tendrils in Ryan's hand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, good call. I haven't seen that card in a while.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks decent here, doesn't it?
Yeah. It looks okay.
Oh, he's got another Ballista, though. That looks even better.
Yeah.
So he's just going to first things first, just make sure that Gideon's gone.
Right.
And then I'm assuming just ship the turn back here.
Yeah. So Brandon now has access to the 5 lands. Probably going to be finishing off the Winding Constrictor here, is my guess. Yeah, because of the fact that he has 2 Ballistas in play.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't need cards from now on. He can just dump his mana into those and have a reasonable game plan. So he's going to have the boat fall right on the snake. Poor thing.
Ryan opting to get rid of the Thopter there.
God, that is a nice boat, though, isn't it?
I wonder if he did that because he wants to commit to just casting the Flame Tendrils, but he's not really getting a whole lot of value there either.
No, he's not.
It looks like
that's what he's going to do, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't bad.
It's not bad,
he's killing
but it's
2
also
creatures. He's making it harder for Bronson to crew the Sky Sovereign. It's not terrible, but it wasn't great.
No. And now look, he's out of cards.
He is. He does have a Sylvan Advocate as the follow-up play, but this is where it's really scary for Ryan. Yeah. Because if Bronson can just play something to start crewing the Skyship, I mean, it hits for a lot.
I believe he has a Motorist in play.
So 7, 14, 21, you're dead?
Yep. And he gets the Scry. And it looks like he has a Fumigate in hand, too. So
yeah, Bronson looks like he's definitely in the lead at this point.
And I think he kept the Scrap Heap Scrounger on top, which I like, just in case.
Crew insurance?
Yeah, just in case Ryan deals with the Veteran Motorist.
Yep, so take 7. Now, the Sylvan Advocate's going to survive the 3 damage thanks to that 6th land from Ryan. But the real issue here is that clock. He just took 7 in the air.
Ryan does have the tools to race, and he drew a second Sylvan Advocate. That is a 6/6 Hyxian Quagmire.
Look at this.
Is that 10 damage?
Yeah.
Wow. And the Sky Sovereign doesn't get anything.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a nice rip.
Right. So now Bronson is at 6. He's got a Scrap Heap Scrounger on top. He can only block one of the advocates, one of the
Fumigate
creatures.
it is.
Yeah, he has to go for the Fumigate here.
He does. Now, if he has a land, he can play the Scrounger and crew, but he doesn't. So he's got to be careful, too. He's still going to start taking damage from this Quagmire, and he's down to 7 after this hit.
Ryan Hare did have an epic win in the semis where he just attacked with 2 Hissing Quagmires for 3 or 4 straight turns and won the match.
Whoa. That's the one where you shrug and say, well, this is how it goes, and then it actually works and you can't believe it.
All right, so Fumigate was actually fantastic there. Ryan's
It
still
really
just
was.
dead in 2 turns unless he finds...
It's 3 turns now, though, right? Does he have a
oh,
creature
you're right.
land or something?
You are correct. You are correct.
Well, he does have a Needle Spires, it looks like.
Yeah. Ryan needs to draw his 1 of Appetite for the unnatural here.
Oof, that's a tall order. Aethersphere Harvester, does that get the job done? He can crew it.
It is
a 3/5, and it just blocks once and gains him 3 life. That is not going to get the job done in the long term. Still looking like Bronson's going to even things up here in the finals.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see that Ryan is only playing 1 artifact removal spell in his graveyard, considering how much Mardu vehicles you were going to expect coming into this tournament. I've seen people such as Ben Rubin playing 2 copies of Obsolescence in the main deck.
Saw that from Matt Baccio as well.
Yeah, I believe he just took Ben Rubin's 75.
I believe that is the case. Or 79.
Or yeah, Ben Rubin making the finals of Grand Prix Oakland with a 64-card special.
He sure did.
True master.
I don't question him.
I don't.
I don't get it,
yeah.
and I don't question him.
He has his own way of doing things, but
Yeah.
he is a master, so.
All right. Ryan's down to 1. Next turn, Bronson can fire up the Needle Spires and just get in there.
Yep. Do you have an appetite? I know I do.
We're not doing that kind of stream here, Paul.
No mukbang?
No.
Okay.
What did he find? Something good?
Don't know.
Uh-oh. He passed the turn back, Paul. This is looking really good for Bronson.
So Ryan is forced to block the Sky Sovereign here.
Which means that the Needle Spire's first strike part of the double strike damage will kill Ryan before the lifelink matters. Ryan's doing the math.
So he can crew the Aethersphere Harvester, block the Sky Sovereign, choose to give it lifelink,
Die.
but he will die to the first strike unless
Right.
he drew another removal spell.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to clarify on the board state here, that Scrap Heap Scrounger crewed the Skyship, so it's just the Skyship and the Needle Spires, but that does in fact do it. Bronson is able to just get by Ryan Hare, who just ran out of gas. He really did. You know, like you said, that turn when he went, you know, he played a bunch of stuff and he ended it with land, Sylvan Advocate. He was on empty.
Yeah.
And he just never, you know, there was no tireless tracker. There was nothing feeding his draw step there. He was just purely at the mercy of the top of his deck, and it wasn't super kind to him.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the sideboard strategy a lot of the black-green players are making against the Mardu Vehicles deck, and it's possible that it might be a mistake, where you're bringing in too many reactive cards against the small creatures. Your big creatures are already pretty good against those creatures. You need to be more concerned about the Planeswalkers, the Sky Sovereigns, things of that nature. I think, and if the games are likely to be that grindy, cards like Tireless Tracker, for example, get a lot better. Although I'm not sure if Ryan has any copies. He has 3 in his sideboard. Like Flame Tendrils is a decent card, but you saw that game. He had a Walking Ballista in play. There are going to be times where it'll get some of your creatures as well.
Yeah.
I understand like the thought process behind bringing it in while you're on the draw because of the potential of an aggressive start.
Yeah.
But I would guess that on the play, he's likely just not going to have those Flame Tendrils. I want more things that allow me to get ahead on cards. And after sideboard, I mean, even in the main deck, he just doesn't have a whole lot, whereas the Mardu deck has just so many more tools to grind.
Yeah, we knew we were going to get a game 3 somehow. It just felt like it.
Yeah. And I was just talking about how amazing Sky Sovereign is in the matchup. He has no ways to block it and one way to kill it.
It's just that appetite for the unnatural.
It is the singular appetite for the unnatural. That is all.
That's insane.
No obsolescence. Yeah.
The good news for Ryan is that in many scenarios, his creatures will be big enough to not die to the trigger. The downside is it still just kills you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ryan just wants to have an aggressive start. I almost feel like Ryan wants to be the aggressive deck
Yeah.
after sideboard.
It does feel like that.
But
it really does.
But the problem is you might still get fumigated. So
yeah, this sideboard plan for Mardu is really good. How
Right.
annoying.
yeah, I know. How can you just be one of the best aggressive decks in the format and also just sideboard into a control deck? How is that even possible? Is it crazy to like sideboard and transgress the mind?
I would say no.
You're going up to six planeswalkers. You do have 2 fumigates. You're playing 4 unlicensed disintegrations. There's a decent amount of targets.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the full 3, but maybe 2, maybe 1.
Yeah.
But as you saw in the first game, Ryan Hare had an explosive start, and Bronson just couldn't keep up. So
Yep.
that's exactly the type of draw that Ryan's looking for in
Right.
game 3.
And Ryan, as our 3rd seed, got to choose player draw. He, of course, chose to play, and he won the game that he was on the play, and now he
Yeah.
gets to have that choice again. Keep.
Yeah.
Please. All right, we got to keep. No 1-drop from Ryan, but that's not particularly unlikely from his list.
Right.
Now, no 2-drop would be different. He does need to play something on 2 in most scenarios.
That is going to
And
be important. Okay.
He's got the Sylvan Advocate. So a solid start here for Ryan Hare on his campaign for a trophy. Bronson is going to do his best to stop him. And
A couple of little creatures.
fine.
Yeah.
Looks pretty good here. That's going to successfully hold back the Sylvan Advocate.
I take back my comment on flaying tendrils. It'd be really good here. Oh, no, it actually wouldn't. Sorry.
Yeah, it would just be
The clue.
medium.
Yeah, it just gets the 1-2.
Yeah.
But it looks like Ryan has the ideal start. He's got a turn 2 Sylvan Advocate, and it looks like he has an Ethersphere Harvester and also Nissa Voice of Zendikar.
Okay. I mean, I'd trade the Advocate for a snake if we're talking
Yeah.
ideal starts.
So Ryan choosing to attack, and Bronson snaps off the double block, and Ryan punishes him with the removal spell.
Okay.
Huge tempo swing, 2 spells in 1 turn. He's got the Constrictor and Nissa in his hand.
Yeah, this is the way to do it. Because Bronson's game plan is to cast a Planeswalker next turn. He has Gideon in hand, but now he has no defense for it.
I guess Bronson has nothing.
Ryan's going to attack, and we're going to see an unlicensed disintegration here. Hit the Winding Constrictor.
So I do like the attack here prior to playing the Nissa. It allows the Nissa to stay at a healthy loyalty amount. And on top of that, Bronson was basically telegraphing that unlicensed disintegration.
Okay, well, Gideon.
Ooh,
This is what he wanted.
Planeswalker duel.
I mean, he went nothing on turn 1, but then he went 2 1-drops on turn 2, 3-drop on turn 3, 4-drop on turn 4. So things are looking pretty good from Bronson's side, but this could be a big turn for Ryan, especially if he's found another snake. Oh, he's got Grasp of Darkness.
Wow.
Minus,
That is a dead Gideon.
and that's dead Gideon.
Right.
Wow, that could be a GP winning Grasp of Darkness right there. Let's see what
Absolutely.
happens next.
And Ryan also has a Verdur's Gearhulk in hand. All he needs to do is just draw a 5th untapped land.
That would surely end the game outside of something like a Fumigate, right?
PNLR, not that great in this spot.
Looks like it was a Walking Ballista rather than the land that he wanted. So he's going to play it for 2, and then are we just going to see Nissa again?
Yeah, I don't think Ryan's going to be complaining too much. Oh.
No, he's just going to minus Nissa again.
Just go all in.
Yeah?
And Ryan, pretty safe to just attack with both creatures as he has the Ballista.
Yep.
If he chooses to double block the 2/3, he can just kill the Thopter.
You got to love the Angry Plant token.
Oh, yeah.
Still, Fumigate's a real card,
Mm-hmm.
and Bronson has them in his sideboard and presumably in his main deck right now.
Yeah, Ryan chose the very aggressive route of just basically saying, Bronson, you need to have the Fumigate or you're just going to be dead.
Bronson's going to make hay while the sun's shining here and block with that token before the Walking Ballista takes that option away from him.
Yeah. And Ryan even has a pretty decent post-Fumigate play here. As if he just draws a land, he can just play an 8/8 Trampler.
I agree, that is pretty decent.
Is that decent? Yeah.
He does not have the 5th land. I think he does have the Fumigate, though.
I do see a Skywhaler shot.
That might be what I saw then. Okay.
Just not bad on this board, but he needs like the actual card Fumigate to be able to come back from this.
Yeah, this turn looks like it's going to be a bunch of things for Walking Ballista to shoot. Yeah. A Veteran Motorist and maybe even a Toolcraft Exemplar if he wants to play that from his hand as well.
Yeah. Walking Ballista just absolutely absurd on this board.
The machine gun.
Yeah.
And he's just going to crack this clue.
Oh, the tap land. Is there a Fumigate? I think he chose to keep the land on top to play to his outs, which is Fumigate.
Okay, well, can he survive this turn? It looks like yes. Rishkar, Pima Renegade, and he's deciding where he wants to put the counters.
Yeah, it's got to be one, at least one on the Walking Ballista.
Yeah.
The other one, unclear. Okay.
Now, he could just cash in the Walking Ballista's 3 counters to just wipe the board. Still have a Ballista and power through a bunch of damage.
If anything, he should get the Veteran Motorist here so the plant won't trade.
Right.
And then he can just choose to attack with all the creatures here instead of just getting the PNLR.
And that way he gets to keep the Walking Ballista at full value.
Why is the plant not attacking?
Why did the plant stay home?
Oh, I see.
Did it
he's
take
looking
some
to
damage?
He's looking to play Aethersphere Harvester after attacking.
Gotcha. He wants the mana.
Right.
That's pretty cool combo, too, with the Sylvan Advocate, by the way, attacking and then tapping for mana.
And it's also a very good post-Fumigate play, right? You get to play the Aethersphere Harvester. Then if he draws a land, he can play the Verdish Gearhulk and still get in for 3.
I like this play by Ryan a lot. Setting up for the potential. He did give up a little bit of damage here, but it shouldn't change his clock significantly, and he does get to survive, the disaster scenario.
So
with
here we go. Is there a Fumigate?
Yes, he
Oh,
does have Fumigate. Okay, we get to see Ryan's plan come into fruition here because right now his hand is Verdurous Gearhulk and he's only got 4 lands. He cannot crew, right? There's no Hissing Quagmire there. So if he hits a land, he's going to have an 8/8 trample that's going to be a real bear to deal with.
Okay, so Bronson goes down to 9, then gains 2 life, goes up to 11. I don't think it's 12 because the
Ballista was gone.
Ballista was gone, so it should be 11 life. And he drew the land.
He hit the land, and it's an 8/8, and this is back on you, Bronson. Crunch.
So now Bronson at 8 life, but he does have the Skywhaler shot for the Verdish Gearhulk.
Oh, this is a game here.
Yeah. I imagine an upkeep Skywhaler shot here. Get that scry value. After sideboard, we should just change the title from Mardu Vehicles to just Mardu Control. All right, here is very likely to be the upkeep Skywhaler shot. And there it is.
Oof. This is great.
Yeah.
He still has that Toolcraft Exemplar, I think, in his hand, too.
He gets to finally.
Here it is.
He was sandbagging it,
Yeah.
Now it's ready. It's ready to play.
He's ready.
Oh, my.
I am checking on the life total, by the way.
No creature from Ryan Hare. No Hissing Quagmire. Is Bronson going to come back from this?
He has a chance to. I wouldn't say it's likely.
At a time.
He's attacking for 1. But any Planeswalker here, and he's all of a sudden in pretty decent shape.
Yeah.
Now,
tapping 4 mana. It has to be a Planeswalker.
It is. It's Gideon.
Wow.
Has to be the perfect
What
Planeswalker
a
here, too,
here.
because Aethersphere Harvester does not kill it.
Yeah.
Flame Tendrils is what he drew, Paul.
Yeah, Flame Tendrils.
I mean, he may as well cast it.
Again, it's just looking so mediocre here. Is that a Sylvan Advocate? I think it is.
Yep.
Okay. He cannot. He still can't get the Gideon, though. He can get it down to 1, which I think that's what he wants to do.
Gain some life.
Yeah. I don't think he has any other use for the energy. Okay.
Oh, man, this is
what a game.
This is a game.
So Gideon goes down to 1. If Bronson doesn't have a removal spell, then the Harvester will finish off the Gideon next turn. Ryan also trying to extract a little more value from that Flame Tendrils as he's at a pretty healthy 22 life, and it's going to pay off dividends here.
It certainly is. Remember, Flame Tendrils exiles also.
Yeah.
What's that last card in hand for Bronson?
What is he doing? Yeah. I'm not exactly sure. I wonder what Bronson's going to do with this Gideon. Is he going to get in for 5, or is he just going to make a token?
Gideon's last stand here. He has to decide whether he wants to cash him in for board presence or whether he wants to hit for 5 damage on an opponent that's at 22.
Okay, looks like he's going to be making a token
Oh,
here.
man, this
Wow.
worked out so beautifully for Ryan, waiting on that Flame Tendrils for a turn.
Yeah, and Bronson drawing exactly Scrap Heap Scrounger.
Yes.
Wow.
Look at this. And there's land number 6 as well, so the Sylvan Advocate's bigger on top of all the other issues. But it looks like this is the only line that Ryan can take because he needs to play his... Oh, it was unlicensed Disintegration.
Disintegration.
Wow, these guys are really going toe-to-toe here.
Oh.
And there's the Flame Tendrils to wipe the board. Gideon will survive, and we're going to have Sylvan Advocate versus Gideon in a standoff.
Yeah, and now Bronson can just draw any other creature to chump with. He does have the Needle Spiders, so the Gideon does kind of keep the Sylvan Advocate at bay here.
Yeah. Land off the top for Bronson.
Bronson can opt to activate Needle Spires and double block the Sylvan Advocate to get rid of it.
Oh, Verdurous Gearhulk off the top for Ryan Hare.
What is going on?
Oh, my God.
I cannot handle this. I cannot.
These guys have no chill.
No chill
You don't get a
whatsoever.
single draw step off. It is just bashing over and over.
I'm waiting for the second Fumigate from Bronson here.
Oh, no. It's a Toolcraft Exemplar?
Draven Inspector.
Draven Inspector.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
At least it's respectable.
Yes.
Wow. This is a pretty amazing game.
Indeed.
I do see Mismatch Mountains. I just had to
Okay,
throw it out there.
It was Aspire of Industry is what he found with the clue. So Bronson once again out of gas and facing down a massive board here.
So the question is Ryan going to go after the Gideon or just Bronson's life total? He's got 12 power on the board.
Okay, here comes Needle Spires.
So we have a 6/7 Sylvan Advocate. He can choose to get rid of the Advocate here with the double block, but it looks like he's going for the Gearhulk here instead.
He would have to, triple block, wouldn't he?
No, double block. It has double strike, right? So it deals 6 damage. No way. Another removal spell?
Unbelievable.
Ryan having a few amazing draws from the top of his deck.
Yeah, his deck has been very kind to him, and
Wow.
Bronson is down to 3. Gideon's gone. He's got
No
a Thraben
Fumigate, and
Inspector,
that's the
and
game.
that does
Wow.
it. Ryan Hare defeats Bronson. Bronson 2-1. He is your champion here in Pittsburgh, and he can breathe a sigh of relief finally. And he's probably going to want to frame this deck because, boy, was it nice to him down the stretch there.
Goodness.
What a sweet game to end things on. And another handshake. That was definitely a double handshake game for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, that is going to do it for our coverage of the finals here. We'll be back right after these messages.
Check out Ether Revolt Booster Draft Leagues on Magic Online. Build a deck at your own pace and play at your convenience. Draft anytime, play anytime. For more information, visit mtgo.com.
It's time to take back the power.
Put your game to the test at a Grand Prix. These Magic celebrations are headlined by 2-day open tournaments with the best players in your region, as well as top Magic pros from around the world. Find an upcoming Grand Prix near you at magic.wizards.com/Grand Prix.
Welcome back to the booth here in Pittsburgh. Paul and I have both had a chance to catch our breath after that furious finals, especially that Game 3. That was some real nice rips there from both players, to be said, too.
Haymakers back and forth.
Yeah, they were just slamming, but, man, that final stretch there from Ryan was gross. Yeah. You got to love to see the probably the best card he could draw there, right? The Verdurous Gearhulk off the top.
Verdurous Gearhulk was amazing. Being able to play that Fumigate when he was just dead on board, the only card in his deck that can save him to get it back. And then it looked like he was so far ahead with the Gideon, and then the Gearhulk, and then the Grasp of Darkness after.
Grasp, too.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and you know, all that on top of Ryan patiently waiting with his Flame Tendrils and getting pretty good value out of it, it must be said.
Yeah, I think both players played very well in that finals.
Yeah, that was fun to watch for sure. And, you know, that's what we hope for when we get to the finals of a GP is to see that kind of back-and-forth action between these two decks. I can tell you that we're lining up an interview with Ryan right now. I think BDM is over there kind of wrangling him. Yeah. And, you know, he's got his trophy and his friends over there to cheer him on.
Yeah, yeah.
What about winning a GP for you? Because you've won one. How many have you won?
I have won 3.
You've won 3 GPs.
Yeah, people won't believe it, but yes, it has happened. It has. Two was a very long time ago, and one was, of course, basically me just getting carried by Team Pork Bun Oath with LSV and Efro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he must be totally stoked. The thing is, like, in order to win a tournament like this, not only do you have to play incredibly tight, you also have to get a little lucky.
Yes.
And those last few draw steps from Ryan, pretty good.
They counted. All right, well, BDM's ready. He's with Ryan right now. Let's send it to him for the interview.
Brian David Marshall here with Grand Prix Pittsburgh champion Ryan Hare. Ryan, have you ever played a bigger match of Magic than the one you just played?
I did have an RPTQ top 8. That was close. That was for my first Pro Tour. This one was pretty close too. I'd say maybe this is a little bit better. Yeah.
So this is going to be your second Pro Tour that you're going to. What did you learn from your first experience on the Pro Tour? Maybe that even helped you this weekend in Pittsburgh.
You can never draft enough. And you can never test the format enough because our testing team for that, I had a lot of good friends go with me to that too. Also, previous Grand Prix Pittsburgh champion Alex Bianchi was on my team for that. So glad to keep that in the family. Yeah, we didn't quite necessarily test enough for Modern, but there's always more you can explore. That was PTL Drazi, and yeah, we could have nailed the metagame a little bit more for that. But for this, I think we did a good job. I really like the deck I played. I think it's fantastic in a lot of matchups. It plays really good cards. It also it doesn't let me draw bad cards. I just anytime I need it, there's something on top of it. So it's got a high average card quality and absurd synergy. So yeah, I've definitely tried to learn from the PT experience a little bit, and hopefully we'll do a little bit better next time. Yeah.
Now, this isn't a deck you just picked up from PT coverage. This is a deck you were actually playing before the PT, right? You did pretty well at the SCG Columbus with this?
Correct, yeah. Me and my team, Alex Bianchi and Andrew Skoric, we all played that at SCG Columbus. Skoric ended up top 8ing, and Al and I both ended up at 11-4 for cash. So we had a good record with the deck. We've been trying different variants. I tried all sorts of stuff. You can build this deck in 100 different ways and have it still be good cards and good synergy overall. So there's just so many ways to do it. I liked mine the best. I actually found some lists with Oath of Nissa beforehand just for consistency. I had a couple flex slots that I couldn't really figure out. And the Oaths really give you just really good. It's basically Ponder, essentially. You can't get removal spells off of it, which is, it's sad when you see removal spell Gearhulk off Oath of Nissa, but then you're not sad because you drew a Gearhulk. So yeah, it's great. It's been fantastic. I did have the mana fixing come up, but that's whatever. But yeah, there's just I put a lot of work in on this deck. Tried to test it, played it for Columbus. Got a little lucky, ran a little hot. That's the secret formula. So
Nissa, voice of Zendikar, certainly looked great for you in that finals. Lots of counters. So we've had a lot of debate. One of the things we do on the coverage side of things is we're trying to name decks. Green black Delirium, green black Energy. What is your take on this black green deck? What would you call this? Black green good stuff?
I mean, there's so many things you could call it. In my spreadsheet list that I've been making for comparing other lists and stuff, I've been calling it Black Green Turbo, just because you play Sifters and Rish Cars to turbo out a Gear Hulk on turn 4, which I did in my quarterfinals match. I had, as they tweeted, the Snake into Rish Car into Gear Hulk on turn 4 into Gear Hulk on turn 4, tapping Rish Car for mana, of course. And you just have so much potential for explosive draws, and your average card quality is so high that I don't know. I like Turbo. I like Black Green Turbo. That's what I've been going with. But my version is a little different. You can play Energy. You can play Delirium. You could play Hybrids. You can play whatever you want. But as long as you're playing Snake, that's what matters.
Yeah, whatever. You got to start with that Winding Constrictor. Treated Ryan very well here at Pittsburgh. He is the Grand Prix champion. Ryan, I'll see you in Nashville at the Pro Tour. Good luck. Have fun the rest of the way. Whatever GPs you go to in the meantime, sending it back to the desk to wrap this thing up.
Thanks, BDM. Good stuff there from our interview. And for our champion, Ryan, congratulations to him. But alas, it is time for our time to end. Fret not. Paul and I will be together next weekend from Vancouver, bringing you Modern from that GP, so that should be fun.
Yeah, the first Modern Grand Prix since the bannings.
Yeah, so things are going to be interesting. We're going to see maybe some new decks or some new lists show up, or at least some of the ones that you saw before won't show up. So something's going to be different. And I wanted to say thank you to everybody here in Pittsburgh. That's Pastimes. They're the tournament organizer here. All the judges and staff that help make everything possible. And, of course, you for hanging out with us all weekend. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. So for Paul Cheon, for Brian David Marshall, for Jacob Van Loon, and Marshall Sutcliffe, we'll see you next time.